Hi, everybody. Welcome to Moving Markets. My name is Jeffry Dunyon. I'm the owner and founder of Safe Option Strategies, and every day I share a few thoughts on what the markets are doing and what's moving the markets, why they're moving the way they're moving, maybe what to expect. Mix in a little bit of politics because too often nowadays politics have a big role in moving the markets. It's almost impossible to get away from the relationship that they have. So, as today is March the 4th, we're into the first. Well, Friday was the first trading day of the month of March, but it was the last day of a week, in February mostly. So we're into the last month of the first quarter of this year. It's been an incredible quarter so far. Stocks have had a tremendous move up since the beginning of the year. You had that big sell-off down to December 24th, and then this incredible move up. In fact, not counting today's move, and today you got to go back to the week following the week following December 24th. In those next 4 or 5 trading days, you had a couple of intraday movements on the Dow Jones Industrial Average that were upwards of 400 points. And then for almost 2 full months, in fact, maybe a little over 2 full months, we had not one single day where the intraday movement was more than 400 or 500 points. And today has shattered that. Today, the market started to the upside. The Dow was up almost 120 points really early in the day. Caterpillar was doing really well. Apple was doing really well. You had a couple of those big Dow names that were just really doing well. And then it's all gone to the wayside. It's all gone away. The Dow, as we speak, 11 o'clock Mountain Time. It's 1 o'clock out on the East Coast, so the markets are open for about three more hours. The Dow is down almost 400 points. Big, huge swing. The thing that's moving the markets today is computer trading, plain and simple. You can make an argument that there's economic news or data or political news that's moving the markets, but the reality is the markets are moving on computer trading. And for those, we hear the term computer trading a lot, and if you've never had a good explanation of computer trading, this is my understanding of computer trading. You've got 2 different aspects to computer trading. One of those aspects is orders that are put in place that are triggered by certain levels in the market. So if you had an index fund of Dow stocks, if you were trading the Diamond ETF, which is just made up of Dow stocks, you could have a sell order in place that is triggered once the Dow hits a certain level. And what you have is you have an order that triggers right here, and then you have an order that triggers right here, and then the stocks continue to move down, order triggers here, order triggers here. And one perpetuates this continued downward movement. That's part of computer trading. The other part of computer trading is, and this goes so far beyond my knowledge of how it works and the details of I'm going to give you my simplified understanding of how it works. When you talk about computer trading that is built on artificial intelligence, what you're talking about is the type of computer trading that very complex algorithms. This goes to computer programmers know what I'm talking about. Most of us don't. These very complex algorithms actually scan news headlines. They actually scan data that is coming out, and they trigger or create buy or sell orders based on headlines. So when the headlines have to do with closer to being a deal being done on China, and this was the case early this morning. Over the weekend and early this morning, we got news that a China deal is closer than it's ever been. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But you got news that the Wall Street Journal put out some information about what they think are going to be in the details of this trade deal. And that sort of pushed things, that sort of pushed things to the upside in the absence of other news that might have been perceived as negative. And then what's happened since the open of the market is you've had this drip, drip, drip. I've been watching CNBC. I've been watching Fox Business News this morning. I've been looking at headlines on Google Finance, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, a number of different financial locations. I've been watching headlines. And there's been this, every guest that's on the show, every talking head that allegedly knows something about what's going on continues to spit out this kind of drip, 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 drip of negative news. The China deal is not going to be as good as we think, or they may not address the intellectual property theft the way they need to address it. And with each one of these consecutive pieces of negative news, or even just a negative spin on what should be the good news that the China deal is going to get wrapped up, you get this sell-off. And it starts out small. The Dow started moving to the downside right after opening, but it was just still in positive territory and sort of ticking towards the downside. And then it went a little bit deeper, and then went a little bit deeper, and then it went a little deeper. And then the computer trading starts kicking in that is based on these levels of support and people that have these pre-existing orders or these, one triggers another order that start to sell it off. And so you're having the ugliest day the Dow Jones has had. Now, there's still 3 hours that things could turn around, things could go back up. Someone like Kevin Hassett, someone like Steve Mnuchin, Larry Kudlow, Lighthouser, any one of these guys could come out and make some comments, and these have to be public comments. They could make some comments officially on the record about something to the effect of, we have a date certain. We're not going to announce it yet, but we have a date in mind, or a specific date that we think we're going to sign a deal with China. Or they could give some details about what is in the deal that is closer to being finalized. And you could have something like that flip things back the other direction. Even though we're down almost 400 points on the Dow with 3 hours of trading left, don't be shocked if the Dow finishes to the upside. It could happen. Stranger things have happened, and it's very possible. So you've got these different things going on, the computer trading dragging things down, and we're having by far the ugliest day that we've had in the Dow, going back to those 2 or 3 days leading into Christmas Eve. I'm looking over here on my other computer screen, and you had. Let me see if I can tell you the exact day. This is just going back, and you could look this up very easily. I think you had January 3rd. The Dow opened at 23,176 and closed at 22,686. So you had almost 300 points down on the Dow back on January 3rd. You start moving forward, you have a couple of days that were dramatically trading to the upside, but not a single day since the 3rd. So here we are, the 4th. So exactly 2 months ago, 2 months and a day ago, is the last time that the Dow Jones moved this much during the day. Now, again, it could finish only a little bit down. It could finish partway to the upside. It could, the drop could be exacerbated with computer trading, and we could go down even further. So there's what's moving. And the one piece of news that you could kind of point to, and it's almost like people are trying now to point to this news as a reason for the Dow selling off, is some weak construction data. I think construction spending for the month of December was down 0.6%, and analysts were expecting it to be up 0.2%. And that's a pretty good swing. That's a pretty big difference between where analysts thought. What all that tells me is that analysts were once again wrong. The way you can tell if an analyst is going to be wrong about the data that they're putting out is that their keyboard is being worked or their mouth is moving. If either one of those is happening with an analyst, you can be guaranteed that the information they're putting out is going to be inaccurate. I love how analysts spit out information and it's never right. It's never accurate. So analysts were expecting 0.2% increase in construction spending. We got a 0.6% decrease in construction spending. So, but it's almost like people who want to appear smart are sort of grabbing onto that news now and saying, well, this is why things are trading to the downside. The problem is this: At the open of the market this morning, that news had already hit the wire. We already knew that construction spending was down. And so when we already know that construction spending is down and the market takes off to the upside, 120 points up on the Dow to begin the day, and the NASDAQ and the S&P were similar percentages. The NASDAQ at one point in time was double the percentage gain as the Dow, but all three of them are very much in the red right now, having been in the green earlier. Dow down 1.5%, NASDAQ down about 1%, and the S&P down about 1.25%. But I love these people that are on TV trying to convince you that they know what's going on and why it's going on. And what they point to is something like the construction spending, because we already had that information when the market opened, and yet it was going to the upside. So it's not like we had the construction spending out and nobody knew about those details. And suddenly, an hour and a half into the open of the market, we all of a sudden realized, oh, wait, that's a negative number. And now we should sell everything we have. That's just absolutely ludicrous to think that that's what was going on. So people are grasping at straws to try and explain why the markets are moving to the downside. It's just, folks, it's computer trading. It's nothing more, nothing less than computer trading. The market may have slid a little bit on the negative news that kind of dripped out. And then from there, the computer trading took off. Shifting gears just a little bit, the Wall Street Journal, and I haven't read the article yet, so I'm going off what I heard somebody else say on television this morning. The Wall Street Journal put out an article today claiming to know what was in the China trade deal that is closer to getting finalized. I don't know what the Wall Street Journal is doing, because the reality is that's information that they shouldn't have. I'm not saying they don't have that information. I think the Wall Street Journal put out an article this morning that was based on pure speculation on what they think is in the deal, or based on information that is rumored to be in the deal. And the reality is the Wall Street Journal doesn't know any more than you or I what's actually going to be in the China trade deal. I like the Wall Street Journal. I'm not picking on the Wall Street Journal. I like them a lot better than a handful of other media news outlets. But for them to say that they know what's going to be in the deal, they either have information they're not supposed to have, or they're trying to spin an article speculative. Now, again, in all fairness, I got to read the article. So before I go too far in that direction, I probably better read what's going on. A couple other things that are noteworthy. Over the weekend, you had, I think it's Jerry Nadler, and I believe Nadler is the chair in the House of Representatives. Nadler is, I'm trying to find the actual article. Bear with me a moment. He is the chair of the Intelligence Committee, Judiciary Committee. I can't remember which one of those committees that he's the chair of. He's a real piece of work. I mean, this guy is about as vitriol anti-Trump as anybody out there. Yeah, and it's, I'm sorry, it is Judiciary Committee. Okay, I had to remember which one it is. Nadler announced over the weekend, and this guy, in my opinion, he is a living, breathing example of everything that is wrong with politics. He absolutely he doesn't have a monopoly on it by any stretch, but he represents what is wrong with politics. He is requesting something in the neighborhood of 60 different documents from the Trump administration. He's subpoenaing these. He's opening multiple investigations into multiple things. Look, I don't care if you love Donald Trump. I don't care if you hate Donald Trump. I really don't care. The reality is this, and I bring this up because, number one, I like to talk about politics, and I don't care if this program is mostly for the purposes of stocks. I like politics, and I like to talk about politics. So if you want to listen to this program, you're going to listen to politics. You might disagree with me 100%, but part of my goal is to be entertaining and share with you what I think is going on. Donald Trump is a target to the Democrats for whatever they can make stick. It's, when you have a crime that has been committed and you're trying to find evidence of that crime, that's a legitimate investigation. When you already, but you have to have some evidence. Here's the thing. You have to have some evidence that a crime was committed, and then you look for conclusive evidence to prove that that crime was committed. What is happening in many of these investigations with Donald Trump is there is no evidence of a crime being committed. There is hope that a crime was committed. And so investigations are being launched to try and find some evidence to show that there was a crime committed. And I hope you understand that subtle difference. In fact, it's really not so subtle a difference. Any investigation is legitimate if you already have some evidence that a crime has been committed. What the Democrats have and what people like Jerry Nadler have, and he's a disgrace to this country. He's an absolute. I can't say it because I don't want this to be a unfamily friendly program. But what you have in people like Jerry Nadler is their hatred for the other opinion, their hatred for the other side. His hatred for Donald Trump clouds every logical decision or rational decision he might be able to make. When you launch an investigation in the hopes that you find a piece of evidence to create a crime or to accuse someone of a crime, that is not the right reason to launch an investigation. The Democrats in the House of Representatives are going to burn through billions of dollars of taxpayer money over the next couple of years in the hope that they're going to burn through billions to throw mud at the wall. They are hopeful that something will stick, that they'll get something that will justify an impeachment trial of Donald Trump. The problem the Democrats have is this. You'll never have the votes in the Senate for it. This goes back to think back to Bill Clinton, and I believe it was 1996. When the whole Monica Lewinsky thing happened, Bill Clinton perjured himself. I don't care if you love Bill Clinton or if you hate Bill Clinton. I think he's okay. Let me tell you exactly Bill Clinton. You'll have no doubt in your mind where I stand on Bill Clinton. I don't think he was a horrible president. I didn't agree with all of his policies. I'm very conservative, and so I did not agree with all of his policies. I don't think Bill Clinton was a bad president. I think he was a scumbag piece of filth that preyed on women and look, Monica Lewinsky may have been by definition an adult, but he preyed on a young girl, the most powerful man in the world in terms of his political position and standing. He was a predator towards a young girl in the White House. And I mean, if that happened today, even a popular Democrat today would probably get strung up if that happened. But 20 some odd years ago, people didn't care. I mean, sad as that sounds, sad as that seems, Democrats just didn't care. They gave him a complete and total pass on filthy, horrific behavior. There are some people that would say that Donald Trump has had behavior every bit as much of that. I can't see evidence that he has ever preyed on some single young girl that is barely an adult. I just don't think the comparison is there, and I don't think it's a legitimate comparison. But I don't think Bill Clinton was a horrible president. All the impeachment, and here's where I'm going with this whole thing. All the impeachment of Bill Clinton produced was his popularity going up. He looked sympathetic to the American voters. He wasn't up for re-election again. By the time the Lewinsky scandal broke, he had already been re-elected and was serving his second term as president. The timing is different for President Trump, but I don't think, and Dems they've got to pull their heads out of their rear ends. They are convinced, many of them are convinced that they can successfully impeach and convict Donald Trump and get him out of office. And the reality is they can't, even though you've got some idiot Republicans. I'm sorry, Olympia Snowe, Murkowski in Alaska. My family lives in Alaska. They are conservatives. Murkowski is a Republican, and they cannot wait to get rid of this idiot that is representing their state. And she is a complete and total idiot. And they can't wait. Alaska, she doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting reelected in Alaska. So the people up there that voted her into office cannot wait to get rid of her. She's gone next election. In fact, I don't know if she's announced it yet or if she's going to announce it, but she's not going to run again. There's just no chance because she knows slaughtered by whoever challenges her as a Republican. And then you've got Rand Paul and you've got this, is it Tillis from Virginia or North Carolina? They're battling Trump on the border wall stuff, but they're not as foolish as they are at times. I don't believe they are going to side with Democrats to convict Trump if he is impeached in the House and it goes to the Senate. They're not going to convict him. There's no chance whatsoever that Donald Trump is going to get convicted. You can get impeached by the House. Bill Clinton got impeached by the House. He wasn't removed from the presidency because he was not convicted by the Senate. So Democrats are fighting a losing battle on this. They're going to spend so much time and so much money investigating every little thing that I'm telling you right now, they're Trump's biggest ally right now in terms of potentially getting him reelected in 2020, because they're not going to have accomplished anything productive for the country. They're only going to have investigated Trump ad nauseum. It's just it's a foolish play. But look, I think most of the Democrats in the House and in the Senate are straight up fools. I think they're idiots politically. Some of them are probably good people, but their political opinions and their political ideals are completely crap. There's no other way to say it. They're complete crap. And one of the reasons I get off on that tangent and talk about that is because the only thing over the next 2 years that is going to potentially hold this market in check is going to be the Democrats and their investigations. It's the only thing that's going to keep this market in check. If the Democrats were willing to look at legislation, if they were willing to put forth ideas, and I'll tell you, if you're a Republican right now and you want the Democrats to put forth ideas that are going to help Republicans, just keep being a cheerleader like I am for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the stupid people that follow her. I got to tell you, this woman is a new breed of stupid. I mean, really, she is ignorant. She is foolish. And I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. I guarantee I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, and I really don't care. She's a pretty face. And if she wasn't a pretty face to look at, the stupidity of what flows from her mouth. Every time she opens her mouth and tries to sound intelligent and tries to sound like she knows what's going on, she just looks dumber. If she wasn't a pretty face, there's not a human being on planet Earth, male or female, conservative or liberal. There is not a single person that would give her the time of day if she wasn't a pretty face. Sexist as that may sound, it's reality. It's the truth. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a new breed of stupid that we have not seen in this country for a long time. And the only people in this country more stupid than her right now are the morons that voted for her and put her in office. I mean, they're either smart people that got completely bamboozled and they would love to have their vote back right now, and they regret the hell out of putting her in office, or they're dumber than she is for putting her there. Maybe she's the one that's crazy like a fox because she got into office. But if you want if you want the president to be reelected, if you want Republicans to take back the House, if you want Republicans to keep or maybe expand their majority in the Senate in 2020, keep cheering for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to get more and more press, to get more and more Twitter time, to get more and more time on television. The more press she gets, the more insane the Democratic Party looks, and the better the chances are for the Republicans to be back in control for a second term of Donald Trump in office. And if you don't think we've made great progress, I mean, if you think, let me rephrase that. If you think we've made great progress so far, wait until we have the House and the Senate again for a second Trump term, and the markets, the economy is going to be unleashed like it has never been unleashed before. All right, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for joining me on Moving Markets, where we talk a little bit about what is moving the markets and what might continue to move the markets up or down, sideways. They're moving. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.